The film opens outside a prison, where the warden is getting some prisoners out of jail and asking them what caste they belong in. Although people have gathered to meet their loved ones, the warden only releases half of them while the other half are transferred to another prison. Right next, we are taken to a field where we see Raja, his wife, and some other workers using a method to kick the rats out of the field. They use pots which blow smoke into the ground, consequently making the rats dizzy and willing to escape the holes and leave the field. That same night, Raja and his family return home, and it is apparent that they are a poor family that works hard to make a living. That night, a heavy rain sets off and the roof starts leaking. However, that is not their only problem, since one of the walls collapses on the ground. The next day, the town's president has sent one of his men to find Raja, and the man says the president is having some trouble in his house and needs his help. Raja goes along. When he visits the president's house, he is informed that a snake has sneaked into the house, and he is asked to find it and remove it. Raja takes a look around the house and he initially finds an earring instead of the snake, but moments later, he spots a cobra lurking and hiding among some pokes. He grabs the snake with his hand and then tries to allure it until he is able to lift it by its head. The president tells him to kill the snake, but Raja says he can't just go around killing snakes because their land would be overwhelmed with rats if he did. When he returns back to his village, Raja and the rest of the villagers are being taught how to read by a female teacher, which makes Raja wonder why reading is important to them. The teacher tells them that if he learns how to read, the rest will soon follow. The next day, Raja and some other men visit the principal of a local college and ask him how they can get a tribe certificate, but the principal tells them they need to apply to enter the college. However, a tribe certificate would be of no use to them since they do not own any land themselves. Later, Raja meets with his wife Sendani, and she announces that she is pregnant and she is going to give birth to their second child, which leads Raja to make a tough choice and announce to his wife that he is going to leave to another land for a couple of months to make some money for their family. Although Sendani wants to go with him, Raja says that she has to stay put since she is pregnant and can't work, plus their elder daughter, Ali, has to continue with her education. Raja starts his new job, but an unexpected turn of events makes the police visit the president's house because their jewelry has been stolen. The chief asks the president if he suspects anybody, and the president replies negatively. However, his wife tells the police that a man was in their house recently to catch a snake, and he is probably the one who stole the jewelry. The police goes to Raja's house, but they only find Sendani there and they ask her where her husband is. She genuinely has no idea where Raja is and only tells them that he is not home, which makes the police slap her and beat her up. While the police beats her up and drags her away, some of the villagers try to help her, but the police beats everyone up. The following days, the police arrest everyone that has something to do with Raja, including his friends and his sister. All of them are taken in jail and they are beaten up in order to tell them where Raja is. Eventually, police gets to Raja and they arrest him as well. They let his wife go but keep everyone else in. The film presents police brutality at its best, and we see them beat Raja and his friends up to make them confess a crime they didn't commit. That night, one of the men begs the policemen to let Raja's sister go because she is a woman and they have all the men jailed. One of the policemen enters the cell and in an act of aggressive behavior, he humiliates Raja's sister while beating up the men and saying that there are no men in here. The only man present is himself. The next day, Sendani visits her husband in prison and she can't help herself but scream when she sees that her husband is hanging from a bunch of ropes and he is being subjected to torture. The police allows her to bring her husband and their friends some food, and one of them, Iru, says he can't bear any more pain and they should confess to stealing the jewelry even though they didn't. Raja tells him that these wounds are going to be cured in a couple of days, but if they acquire the stigma of being a thief, it will stay with them forever. Sendani complains about the treatment they are receiving from the police, and right then, the chief comes near and says he is not going to allow her to talk dirt for him and grabs Raja by his hair, dragging him back inside. While being dragged away, Raja yells at his wife and tells her to not forget about him and help him from outside. Sendani tries to get herself a good lawyer, but that proves to be a difficult task since nobody wants to take upon Raja's case. Next, she visits the town's president and tells him to help her husband out because he is not the one who stole the jewelry from his house, but the president says he is not going to help a thief and that he should get the punishment he deserves. Meanwhile, Raja and his two friends know that the police is not going to let them alone and they are going to throw them in jail anyway, and we see a short clip where they escape their cell. With no other options left and while being extremely worried about her husband, Sendani visits another lawyer, Chandru, who is also an activist who protests against police brutality, and he recently freed 7,000 innocent people out of jail. Her last option seems to be the best for Sendani, since Chandru is going to help her and he says he is going to file a report that her husband is missing. Chandru takes Sendani to a court hearing and he starts talking to the judges, saying that Sendani is afraid the police lied to her and they got rid of her husband, therefore lying about him and his friends escaping custody. 3 days later, a new hearing takes place, and this time the government's advocate presents the police's official report, which states what happened when the 3 thieves escaped from their cell. According to the report, the thieves escaped the cell and they exchanged some of their jewelry to buy medicine. Chanju asks the court for another hearing in a couple of days, when he will have cross-checked the facts from the police's report, and the judges accept his request. Chanju goes on to make his own research, and he is ready to fight against the police in the next hearing. The new hearing takes place, and the jail's doctor is the one who was called as a witness for the police. Chanju asks him what kind of medicine he gave the thieves to treat their wounds inside the jail, and after the doctor replies, Chanju exposes his specialty, which gives him no authority on prescribing the medicine he claims he prescribed. Next, a pharmacy owner is called up, and he claims that 3 men, who he has no idea if they were thieves or not, walked in his pharmacy, gave him a prescription, and he gave them the medicine. Finally, the inspector who filed the report on behalf of the police is called up, and Chanju asks him how far the jail was from the pharmacy in which the thieves bought their medicine. The inspector does not remember, and the government's attorney tries to save him by saying that Chanju is trying to intimidate the witness. However, the judges don't fall for that and ask the advocate to let Chanju do his job. Chanju asks the inspector again, but he supposedly can't remember. Chanju says that the pharmacy is just 1 kilometer away from the police station and the cell where Raja was being held, which makes him wonder how the 3 thieves escaped under their nose and they were able to buy medicine just 1 kilometer away. The inspector starts sweating under his collar, and he reveals that he was not the one who wrote the police report, but he claimed he wrote it to cover up for his fellow officers. The judges deem the inspector and the other police officers guilty, and they send them in jail for 6 months, while they also will be discharged from their duties. Chanju turns towards Sindani and gives her a look, which means they just earned their first win. The next day, a police officer approaches Sindani and asks her to get in the jeep and follow him to the police station, but Sindani refuses and says she is not going anywhere without her lawyer. The police officer grabs Ali, puts her in the jeep, and drives away. Sindani immediately calls Chanju and tells her to go to the police station and he will take care of it. Sindani proceeds to visit the police station and get her daughter, but the cops try to bully her into dropping the case against them, even offering her money for it. Sindani says she is not going to do that, and the chief slaps her, but he immediately receives a phone call from his higher-ups and they instruct him to let Sindani go. In the next court hearing, the government's advocates have brought in another witness, who is none other than the landlord for whom Raja and Iru used to work under. The man says that Iru called him some days ago and told him to tell his family and Raja's family that they are okay. Chanju wonders if that is the case. Why didn't he tell them? The man says he told the families he received that phone call, and Chanju takes a look at Sindani since this is something he didn't know about. Chanju asks the court for some time to cross-check the new information, and he gets it. Back to his office, Chanju asks Sindani why she didn't tell him anything about it, and he says he is not going to be her lawyer anymore but the teacher. Mithra intervenes, and she says she is the one who told Sindani to keep that information a secret because there is no way the man on the phone was Iru. Since Iru doesn't know how to write letters or numbers, therefore he couldn't be the one calling. Chanju gets the call records made to the landlord's phone and notices Iru's call was made from a public phone booth. He visits the location and finds a new witness, who tells him that he indeed saw 3 men calling from the booth next to his store. However, those men were not the 3 thieves, but the 3 police officers, who he recognizes in the next court hearing. With the court's approval, Chanju finds a police inspector he can trust, and takes him along in a village where various people talk to him about the instances when the police tried to frame them for something they didn't do, which makes him angry and decisive to find out what has happened in Raja's case. The new inspector makes a lot of questions, and he talks with every single officer from the police station where Raja was being held. Eventually, his men are able to find Raja's body and send him some pictures, which Chanju shows to Mithra, and she recognizes the dead body belonging to Raja. The police station's chief asks the government's advocates to assist him, and they in turn ask him what has really happened. The chief tells the real story and confesses that he was trying to make Raja to admit he is guilty of stealing the jewelry from the president's house, and, while doing so, Raja's body couldn't keep up with the beatings and he died. One night, his men called him from the police station and told him that Raja died, resulting in him coming up with a plan and disposing his body. In the meantime, Chanju is keeping up the good work, and he has bound together many clues that will prove that Raja died into his cell, condemning the chief to life sentence. The strongest clue of them all is that he has managed to discover the prison where Iru and their other friend are being held. He gets them out of prison and brings them to the final court hearing, where he presents all of the clues. Iru and his friends speak the truth about the police brutality they have experienced and how they were torturing and beating Raja up to make him confess. Chanju is the one who finishes the story by revealing that the police knows who stole the jewelry from the president's house. They had discovered the thief long ago from his fingerprints, but they didn't arrest him because they took a bribe from the smugglers. So what really happened is, the chief discovered the real thief, took a bribe to not arrest him, and conveniently arrested Raja, whom he tried to make confess to a crime he didn't commit. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos. Thanks for watching.